This episode of Southeast Iowa Today is brought to you by Griner Auto Body of Washington, Iowa, using state-of-the-art techniques and decades of experience to get your car back on the road after an accident. Car Doctor of Washington, Iowa. No matter who Frankensteined it, they can fix it, clean it, and customize it. McDonald Boatyard of Keota, Iowa, for all your farm equipment and auto recycling needs. For great food, it's your choice family restaurant of Wayland, Iowa. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Try the John Bain sandwich on your next visit. Girling Repair of Winfield, Iowa. If your mower is dead, call Fred, your Husqvarna, Aaron's, and Gravely dealer. Fred also fixes and sells snowblowers. B&B Propane and the family of jet stops. CW Tree Trimming, LLC. We're into your trees, not your wallet. Serving all of Henry County and the surrounding area, and we offer a senior citizen and veteran discount.
Iowa Technology Systems of Mount Pleasant, Iowa. Managed IT, including software and hardware navigation needs. No job is too small. iowatechsys.com. If you are someone having trouble with your PC or laptop, or a demanding business, you can be our next happy customer in Mount Pleasant.
Dutch Market and Coffee Talk of Washington, Iowa. Dutch Market can handle all of your grocery needs. They even have a conference room that you can use for free. Coffee Talk's drive-thru is open and ready to serve you coffee, energy drinks, sandwiches, baked goods, and ice cream. They all present the award-winning Southeast Iowa Today. Here's the author of Christie's Journey, The Beat Goes On, and your host, John Bain.
Thank you, announcer Cody Roy of NewEnglandDukes.com for your golden pipes and wonderful introduction. Also, thank you to the Mount Pleasant Public Library for the use of their genealogy room. On this episode, I visit with Mount Pleasant, Iowa mayoral candidate Kasey Conrad. We have a very good conversation, and she answered all of my questions. Kasey Conrad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Please share with us a little of your background and experience that leads you to believe that you are qualified to be the mayor of Mount Pleasant, Iowa.
Thank you. I have been a business owner for over 40 years. I have built a number of small businesses from the ground up. One in particular, when I lived in New Mexico, I started a wellness center that was called Body Work Unlimited. We started out in a small space with 7 therapists, and over 10 years that grew to 4 locations and over 30 therapists, including doctors, chiropractors, and psychologists, counselors. So it was a wonderful experience, and we helped a lot of people through that.
Sounds like impressive growth.
It was fantastic, and it actually, the original location is still open today.
Well, that's neat.
Mm-hmm.
That is neat.
And three of the therapists who started with us are still practicing there.
That sounds like a good combination.
Yeah, that's staying power.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you had just a couple of minutes and we were in an elevator and you had those couple of minutes to describe the city of Mount Pleasant, Iowa to a stranger, what would you say?
I would say Mount Pleasant is a charming Midwestern rural city with lovely people. It has a lot of potential. I believe that there are a few things that are lacking, and that's from living here and also from speaking with people. Those things are not impossible to fix. I'm going to say fix because it's not really broken. It's just bringing in a few new things with a few new ideas. Some things for young people to do, some things for young families to do. And I believe that we have a huge potential for tourism because we have the most amazing historical landmarks here and museums. And I don't think we take enough advantage of those things.
Very good. I want something you said there. I'm going to come to it in a little bit, but I want to ask this first. What is currently being done from Mount Pleasant City Hall that you agree with?
Some of the things that they're doing with infrastructure, repairing the roads, because some of the roads here are horrible. I had an interesting conversation. I've been going talking to people door to door, and I had an interesting conversation with someone on my own street who is a skateboarder.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 35 years old, but he still likes to ride a skateboard. And he said to me, there are very few streets in Mount Pleasant that I would feel safe riding my skateboard on. So I think it's really important that they're doing that. I like the idea that they are working on the trail system for biking and for walking to keep people from having to walk on the busy streets. I think that's very, very important. So I agree with that very much.
Very good. You mentioned young people in the elevator speech. Rural communities in Iowa, including Mount Pleasant, have trouble retaining graduates in the area after they finish high school and college. And how do we keep these young people in the Mount Pleasant community to ensure that Mount Pleasant is a thriving community in the future?
That's a wonderful question. And I just spoke to 2 government classes at the high school, which are comprised of mostly seniors who are going to be graduating this year. And I asked them the question, how many of you, once you graduate and go to college or trade school or wherever you're going to go, plan to come back to Mount Pleasant? And both classes were 20 plus students. In the first class, 2 people raised their hands that they would be coming back. In the second, none of the students raised their hands, not one of them. And I talked to them a little bit about that, and they said the same thing that adults say, because young people are very intelligent these days. You know, they know what's happening, they can see it, and they're very intuitive.
Sure.
Some of them said, we need better paying jobs. Another one said, there's nothing for us to do here. And so that was a theme, right? Those 2 things. And that just threads through every demographic, right? Every
sure
demographic. I have the beginning, an outline for a 3 to 5 year plan, because I believe that for us to bring back good paying jobs, one thing we need to do is shore up what we already have, because that will show to outside companies or people who might be looking to relocate somewhere in the rural Midwest that we can sustain successful businesses. We are not showing that really very well right now, especially if you talk to a lot of the shop owners downtown. So if we focus on shoring that up and creating that foundation where the people that we already have here are successful and showing success. And that's a 2-way street, obviously. They need to take some responsibility for that as well. But it can be a working partnership. And then we start to reach out. Once we have that foundation of success, now it's going to be more attractive for more industry possibly to come in and create those better paying jobs, because they feel like their business will be viable and sustainable here.
Well, we are recording this on October 27th, 2025. So we're 8 days out from November 4th,
right,
2025 for the election. Let's say you've convinced enough voters in Mount Pleasant to elect you as mayor of their city. What part of that 5-year plan can you share with us?
Well, part of it is, and this is another part that is attracting remote workers to start to build up our tax base. When we can get remote workers in here, then they're paid from outside of Mount Pleasant, so none of that money comes out of our funds on any level, but the money that they spend stays here. They buy houses or rent spaces, and all of that money is local. So that helps to shore up the foundation. And to do that is not that difficult. There are free websites that you can create a page for, we could create a page for Mount Pleasant for no cost, and put in all of the wonderful things about Mount Pleasant, because we have wonderful things here for families, right? And invite them here. So this one is called Make a Move. That's just one out of many. And there are Facebook pages that remote workers go to look for places that when they want to get away from the cities, right? They've
Mm-hmm.
had enough of that, and they just want to take their kids somewhere they can go outside and play or enjoy the beautiful parks that we have.
Sure. That's a real interesting concept, because there are more and more people that work remotely. And I mean, in the U.S., there just
Mhm.
really is. I mean, you can be doing something in, like you said, in Mount Pleasant, and it may be for a company that's halfway across the country or on the other side of the world, even. I mean,
Right.
so those possibilities are endless.
So I have another part of the plan is creating small business incubators or small business labs. And we have some vacant buildings,
Okay.
right? So if we can work with the landlords, they've done this in other cities. I believe Fairfield might actually have a program like this. Somebody just told me about it yesterday.
Okay.
But I've seen this work in other cities where we open up this space, and people who have good ideas but are not quite financially able to put in all the money it takes to get into a really long lease, or to have to create everything that has to be created in a small business startup. And then we can have 3 or 4 or more, depending on the size of the space, small businesses open and share the same space.
Okay.
Right? Each one has their own allocated area, and they can begin in this small beginning space, sharing the lease amounts, and then they can start to grow their business and figure out, is this something they really want to do? Can it be viable? Is it sustainable? Or should they make another choice? But we can do that and have them there for 6 months or a year, depending, and then rotate out, which is also kind of cool, because people will always be looking for who's going to be in there next, right?
That is true. So, I mean, you mentioned the websites and some of the Facebook pages.
Mm-hmm.
Is there other ways you would need to promote this to really get people's attention? Because a lot of times some of those Facebook pages and stuff, depending on who, they might be the best thing since sliced bread, but
Right.
if only have 10 followers, or or a couple
Right.
hundred,
Well, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube is a wonderful venue, right? A wonderful platform.
Mm-hmm.
We could create a YouTube channel for the city,
Hmm.
and it doesn't cost anything to start it up, right?
Right.
And then we could post all kinds of things that go on here in Mount Pleasant, and we could use that as part of our promotion.
Interesting. And you get the right algorithm in place, and
Yes.
then YouTube will start sharing it with others, and it can grow.
Exactly.
Yeah, you definitely can.
Mm-hmm.
I recorded the mayoral candidate forum
Mm-hmm.
last week in this very building, and I want to thank the Mount Pleasant Public Library for the use once again of the genealogy room for me to do an interview. I've done a lot here recently, but we were upstairs, and I recorded that, and you and the mayor got to answer questions.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything that, based on time allotment, that you would have liked to have expounded on that you didn't get a chance? Were there any topics in any of those questions that I just want to throw out there and give you the opportunity to say, hey, I'm giving you plenty of time?
That's a wonderful question. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. When we were asked a hypothetical question about what we would do if we had all the money in the world.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yep. My answer is, I would put a healthcare facility here that would handle all of the needs of the citizens right here in Mount Pleasant and Henry County. We no longer have a birthing center. Anybody who has a baby here in Mount Pleasant has to go somewhere else to give birth. We don't have a space for radiation therapy for cancer patients and cancer survivors. And that's a huge thing for me, because I'm a 3-time cancer survivor.
Wow.
So, and we have such a need here because we have one of the highest growing cancer diagnoses in the country.
Yeah, and
in
Iowa's
Iowa.
up. Unfortunately, Iowa's up near the top on
And
that.
down here, it's in southeastern Iowa, it's horrible, right? We're at the top of the chart. And we're the only state in the country with rising cancer rates. So I would put a healthcare facility here that allows for those trials that have been cut, those research trials that have been cut out, and all of the treatments that people need, and have a wonderful birthing center and a wonderful pediatric center, because lots of my friends and people that I know, if their kids need some sort of special care, they have to take them all the way to Iowa City. And the veterans, I would have a space for the VA to have a space in there. I mean, if money's no object, right?
Right.
So because we have a lot of disabled veterans here, and they also have to go all the way to Iowa City, and then they wait and wait and wait. And a lot of them don't have vehicles. So they can take the C bus, but it costs them $30. They have to be ready to be picked up at 7. They get there around 9. So their appointment has to be somewhere between 9 and the pickup is 2:45. So their appointment would have to be at 1 or 1:30 because of the wait time in order for them to get back, to get picked up and have a ride back.
And when
So
you,
those are some things I would do.
well, that's, boy, I mean, I wish that could happen.
Me too, but it's a hypothetical,
Yeah, it
right?
is a
I guess if
hypothetical.
we're wishing for the moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, because it's a hypothetical, and that is a, just as you described it, what can we do? What can you do as mayor to get that started? I mean, sometimes we have to crawl before we walk. We have
Exactly.
to walk before we run. So how do you get us to that crawling and walking stage?
Baby steps. This is a mantra of mine. Baby steps are lasting steps. I have always been, this is another thing that I have lots of other things that make me qualified to be mayor that I didn't say. But I have been an advocate my entire life. And one thing we can do that's so important is bring awareness. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Right.
And we've had no events. So people, and we have innumerable women in this county, in this city, who are breast cancer survivors. And again, some of them have come to me. My company, along with the Bell Center, put on a Women's Wellness and Safety Summit on the 15th of October. It was well attended because it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And those two things are huge in the world and in our county and in our city. And the first thing we do is bring awareness.
Okay.
Make sure that everyone is aware that that is an issue, that those rates are rising, and what is available here for care. Because when you let everybody become part of the solution, you find that solution much more quickly. So spreading awareness is the very first baby step that we can take. And I'm going to take a moment of personal preference here. We are on the 29th, which is Wednesday. We have put together a pink out.
Okay.
Which is for breast cancer awareness. And all you have to do is wear something pink. So as a community, if everyone wears something
I think
pink,
I still have a pink button-down shirt in my closet somewhere.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So if everybody in the community wears something pink, that's going to show all of those survivors and all of those people still fighting with any kind of cancer that they are not invisible, and that the community does care for them and does see them.
Well, this is going to be available to the world on tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. So it'll have a chance to get out before Wednesday.
That's
so
perfect.
Hopefully a lot of people will see and hear this. What else? What else you want to talk about?
Well, I want to say one other thing for those people who are more financially and budgetarily minded
Mhm.
that I spent over a decade as the chief operating officer for an educational consulting firm in the United Arab Emirates, where we wrote acquisitions and RFPs for private schools, because all the schools there are private. And we were granted writing licensure for other schools that were in existence. We wrote over 45 licensure applications for other companies, and they were awarded 90% of out of those 40. And for our own schools, we were awarded 6 schools for our own company, 3 of them in Abu Dhabi and 3 of them in Dubai. One of them was a school system called Star International. The 3 schools in Abu Dhabi, one was a Philippine school, which is still open. It's called 21st Century. Another one was an Arab school, and one was an Indian school. All of those schools are still open. But when we got them, I was the project manager for those 3 schools. So I was in charge of hiring all of the employees, principals. So we did a search, and an international search for principals, for all of the teachers, the paras, all the way down to the custodians and bus drivers.
Wow.
Also, I was in charge of budgetary things for the supplies and resources that the school would manage. I oversaw curriculum and also oversaw a piece of the reconstruction of the compounds where the schools were going to be located. And again, one of my favorite things was working with the parents to ask them, again, as I love to do in whatever job I have, the stakeholders, their voices are the most important. Their concerns are the most important. So if you're open to listen to them, you are going to be able to create a much better environment for everybody. And our schools are very successful. So
And that is something to be proud of. And that also sounds very familiar no matter where you are in the world.
Yes.
Parents want the best for their children.
Exactly.
And as far as everything, including education.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody wants to be heard.
They do.
And I mean, when covering this area in southeast Iowa, that's a thread that goes through everybody I talk to.
Mm-hmm. And
they
schools
just want to be heard.
Schools now here, we are at a 50 student deficit at this point. And again, that's because we're bleeding population.
Mm-hmm.
Families are leaving.
And that 50 student deficit, you multiply that times 8,000, I think, or a little over dollars that the yes. school system gets per student to help facilitate everything.
It's huge. And then some of these ideas I have, even for making downtown more lively and allowing more people to come, doing art walks. We can use our kids. We have wonderful art from our kids, right, in the schools. We could have art walks. We have wonderful art teachers. Bring those kids down here. We have a wonderfully diverse population now. We have the Tapestry Fest, which is a beautiful event, right? But we could also have cultural events where the people from the different countries who are living here now, I believe we have something like 9 languages or something that are spoken here in Mount Pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
We could have a wonderful walking tour in the square where each country might have a table and maybe wear their traditional dress and talk about the history of their countries and their culture and how they adapted them here. Wouldn't that be interesting?
It would be interesting, and it would be, because I'm an old guy, I'm 59 years old, and when I was growing up, I went to elementary school in Davenport, Iowa,
mm-hmm.
Washington Elementary, and we had people from every race in different countries. And during that time, I even had some friends that were from Vietnam, and I had a friend that was from Spain, and I got to meet all these different people. And one thing is in common is you're all just kids,
Exactly.
So, but and back then, everybody appreciated what people brought to America,
Mm-hmm.
but then it was blended in with America,
Right.
and so it would be nice to have that.
I agree. And I think that diversity and over the last several years, we have grown by 8%. Like our diversity levels have grown by like 8.1%. And that just makes our community that much more rich.
Mm-hmm.
And the awareness, again, awareness of the community to these different cultural values is so important because it's growth for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to understand that no matter where a person's from, we have the same basic concerns and the same basic needs, right?
Yeah.
Are kids getting a good education? Again, that always throws back. Will I have enough to eat? Will I have a warm place for my children to sleep? It's across the world, these
Mm-hmm.
concerns. So we share so much more than what makes us different.
We do. I noticed that you brought up YouTube. You've got a YouTube channel, and it's called Change Works Holistics Kasey Conrad.
Yeah.
And I was checking it out the other day, and I came upon a video titled July 22nd, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
That was the title. And when I last checked, and maybe we'll help get some more views, it had 82 views.
Okay.
And I'm going to share with you some of the video's transcript, and I will also be playing it for my audience so they can see firsthand you saying this. And it goes as follows. I'm speaking directly to the Democratic National Committee today because something critical is being missed. I say this with urgency and with hope.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is simple. Your message isn't reaching us out here, not in rural America, not in towns like mine, not in the places where barns still outnumber Starbucks and people feel more forgotten than represented. Meanwhile, the GOP has mastered a message that speaks directly to a specific demographic, mainly white, mostly conservative, men and women alike. It's not a message rooted in fact or policy. It's a message rooted in fear and identity. To the men, they say they're taking your jobs, replacing you at every level, diluting your culture. To the women, they say they're coming to rape and kill you. The Democrats will not protect you, but we will. And we're going to go to the video right now.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Kasey Conrad, and I live in southeast rural Iowa. I'm speaking directly to the Democratic National Committee today because something critical is being missed. I say this with urgency and with hope. The truth is simple. Your message isn't reaching us out here, not in rural America, not in towns like mine, not in the places where barns still outnumber Starbucks, and people feel more forgotten than represented. Meanwhile, the GOP has mastered a message that speaks directly to a specific demographic, mainly white, mostly conservative, men and women alike. It's not a message rooted in facts or policy. It's a message rooted in fear and identity. To the men, they say, they're taking your jobs, replacing you at every level, diluting your culture. To the women, they say, they're coming to rape and kill you. The Democrats will not protect you, but we will.
Do you actually believe that today, on October 27th, 2025, or since some time has passed, have you maybe changed your mind? And if so, or if not, why? And who are they that you state the GOP is referring to?
Okay.
There.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to ask me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I do still believe it. And one of the reasons that I believe it is because there is a man here who I believe represents a number of people, and I won't say his name.
Okay.
But he stands.
Here in Mount Pleasant.
Yes, here in Mount Pleasant. He stands on the corner on Sunday, and he has a sign that says, "Now, Democrats killed Charlie Kirk." He has a sign that says, "Democrats tried to kill President Trump." He has a sign that says, "Teach our children the ABCs and not the LBGTQ plus." And I could go on because his signs, he has a few, but they're all based in hate and based in fear and based in division, separating us. And I do believe that all the messages are not reaching us here. And I think it's because the language isn't written for us in rural America. I believe the language of, at least on one side, is written for people who live in California and New York City. And you cannot use the same language there. They don't have the same concerns that we have here. I have a son who lives in New York City, and I have a son who just moved from California a couple of months ago. They are not facing the same concerns that we are in the broader sense, right? Of course, again, all those underlying concerns are the same. But in the broader sense, they are not. Here we have farmers who have worked and worked and worked, and now we have half of the people saying, well, farmers shouldn't be complaining because the government always bails them out, so they should stop whining about that because they're getting their money and I'm not getting anything, yada yada, because they don't understand, right? And then the truth is our farmers are suffering for a lot of reasons. We've had really strange weather for the last few years, right? And they've had to adjust for that. People in New York City don't understand that. Most of them, not all. I don't want to be general, but most of them don't understand that kind of an issue, right? Mm-hmm. But now with all of this trade stuff going on and with the elimination of USAID, where Iowa farmers relied on that for sales and income, and now they don't have that anymore. So I think that's what I mean about the message isn't getting here, because they're not talking about us. They're not talking about our towns, and we're not the only one that's bleeding people.
And when you say,
right,
and there right now is the Democratic Party,
the ones who are not getting the message to the rural parts of the country, mm-hmm. and especially here, because this is where I know the best, right?
Sure.
But and the they is all of the other, mm-hmm. right? All of the other.
You mentioned the one demonstrator that, mm-hmm. but that's one. I don't even think there's anybody else out there, is there, on that side of the street?
But the reason I mention him is because we have you in social media posts, in chat rooms, in conversations out in public, we hear very similar things. So,
well, one of the things that I talk to a lot of Southeast Iowa Republicans, and mm-hmm. the thing that they are most concerned with I was trying to get on to your train of thought here to mm-hmm. say, well, how am I hearing this message and maybe interpreting it different than how you interpret it? Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I know is when we had the border open for 4 years, and everybody from anywhere in the world, mm-hmm. good, bad, and evil, came through. And there were all three of those, good, mm-hmm. bad, and evil.
Exactly.
And I think during the election process last year, that was brought up a lot, that the fact that we had to close our borders because we were having we were having women raped and killed, all different races of women, not just white women, and there's throughout our country, and a lot of them from illegal aliens. So I think that if that was what you were referring to, I can understand that
I'm going to
thread.
challenge that one thing that you said again, because
Okay.
it's hard to talk in generalities, right?
You're right. Yeah.
But you said a lot of women.
Hmm.
Do you have a number?
Not with me. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so
I mean,
but I mean, I'm kind of curious because
what would you do if I just wait a second? I got one right here under this paper.
tell
Yeah.
me, tell me what it
No,
is.
but
No, and I
I
understand, and
don't.
this is an emotional issue,
Hmm.
and I I do agree 100% that, and this is like now flipping over to a whole nother topic,
Okay.
but that border security is important. And I think that part of the issue is because I spent several years in the Middle East working with the UN, helping people from Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran fill out application papers for visas and to begin that process of being able to just travel to the US and for asylum.
And that's the legal way.
That is the legal way.
Mm-hmm.
So, however, that process is tedious and difficult. And I at the moment that's all we got. So, I think beginning to, and we can't do anything about that here in Mount Pleasant except maybe bring awareness, but if we start to educate people on the actual process, if we have more people who maybe could even volunteer to help people fill these forms out, if we can make this process less tedious. I just spoke to a young woman who actually is here in Mount Pleasant who just got her citizenship. It took her 10 years.
Wow.
Yes, 10 years.
Well, first of all, I want to welcome her as
Yes.
as a fellow citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So that is great news.
It is great news.
You know, maybe one of the concerns, you know, when we had the border wide open for 4 years, you know, and Rob Sand, I interviewed him in Muscatine a while back,
right.
and I wanted him to tell me some. I said, we know what you don't like about Iowa Republican policies. What don't you like about Iowa Democrat policies? And people can go back and watch the episode, but basically he said the Republicans have been in control in Iowa for the last 10 years. But he says, one thing I can tell you I didn't like on the national level, he says, I did not like Joe Biden's immigration policy and the border. I did not like how Joe Biden withdrew from Afghanistan. And he also said that people that serve in office, the maximum age they should serve to is 72 years old. So
I agree with that 100%.
So, but
the 72-year-old my husband was actually in Afghanistan. So,
well, I thank him for his service.
Thank you. Yeah. So I have a little bit of information about Afghanistan, but
where I was going with that is maybe now that we have the border, and when I say the border, not just the southern border, we've got our northern border and we have our east and west coast.
Right.
Now that we have that a little more, what I'm going to use the word secured and buttoned up, maybe there's now a chance to start thinking about your process that you said that maybe streamline things a little bit. So like our friend that you just mentioned, I'm calling her a friend. I've never met her, but she's a fellow American citizen.
And a fellow Mount Pleasant resident.
And a fellow, so right here in Henry County, Iowa, you know, it took her 10 years. Maybe there's a way to make that process go quicker. But in the meantime, we got a lot of bad folks that are in here that broke the law getting in here, and they
here
need
in
to,
Mount Pleasant,
here in the United States, and they need to be
dealt with.
Well, dealt with is a word, but that's not my word. My word is they need to be addressed, and if they're here illegally, they need to be out. That's my 2 cents. But I'm a podcast host, so I can kind of give my opinions from time to time.
So I want to go back to this video. The point of the video was which actually this video was made to send to the Democratic Party. So, and whomever else watched it, I'm okay with that. So that was the point for them to understand that as a party, the Democrats aren't reaching people in rural Iowa. So, and the Republicans are, because their message resonates. And again, as you just made the point so eloquently.
I try to be fair and impartial as much as possible, but let's face it, you know, I'm a human being too, and I'm gonna, and when I see things that I don't agree with or I don't understand, I'm gonna question it.
And I think that's how it should be, right?
Exactly. So we are what I am calling 37 minutes and 7 seconds of podcast excellence.
Voila.
So I think it's rolled along pretty quick. It doesn't seem that like we've been talking for that long. I hope it doesn't seem like that to you. Is there anything we should have brought up, that I should have brought up, that you should have brought up, that I wasn't smart enough to know to bring up, that you would like to share with the voters of Mount Pleasant, Iowa?
There's one thing that I'd like to talk about, because it's also very important to me, and a foundation of my platform is another way to shore up our businesses here and to highlight the wonderful attractions that we have. I want to, and I actually have a plan for this, a 2-day history and heritage tour. And it consists of someone coming in from Amtrak or driving in, because we have Amtrak. We're so lucky, right? We're so lucky. So people could come in on Amtrak. We have struggling hotels now since Wesleyan's closed. So partnering with Amtrak, with the city, with the hotels, with some restaurants, because everybody needs more business, right? And with all of these wonderful museums that we have here. And I'm going to try to remember how this goes. Okay. So you have a 2-day package or a 1-day package. So you could do a Saturday package or a Sunday package, or both together, which I think would be the best. But you go to the Harlan Lincoln House. You go to the Van Allen House, to the Heritage Trust. Then you'd go to the Macmillan Park, to the Theater Museum. And so you'd end the day in Salem going to the Llewellyn Quaker Museum, right? Because they have this wonderful explanation and displays about the Underground Railroad. That's such a huge part of our history here in Southeast Iowa. A lot of people don't even know about that, right? And so then day 2, you go to Swedesburg, to that museum there, and then there's an Anne Frank house out there that's a museum, and then to the Winfield Museum. And so it's a holistic visit of Henry County, but mostly what we have here in Mount Pleasant. But we could bring people in for weekends. The restaurants would benefit. The shops would benefit. All of these wonderful museums that are struggling now would benefit. And it would be a way to highlight our town.
Sounds like a great idea. All those people they better be prepared for a lot of visitors, because that's
exactly. But it's wonderful. People can can drive in and have a weekend of it here.
I have a friend of mine, Bob DeWitt, who I have on my podcast every once in a while, because he likes to day trip, and he finds neat places all around. Well, we were just in Indiana a couple of weeks ago and went to a Batman museum and then a Batmobile factory. So we get around.
How fun.
Yeah. But he lives in East Galesburg, Illinois, and just recently he and his wife and his brother and sister-in-laws, there were like 6 of them, or 6 or 8 of them that went. They left Galesburg on Amtrak, went to Kewanee, got off in Kewanee, Illinois, had breakfast, then after the breakfast, hung out for a little bit, turned around, got back on the train, and went to Galesburg. Wouldn't that be cool if people could come in and have dinner in Mount Pleasant, or come in and have breakfast or lunch? Right. So, I mean, I think that's a neat idea that you just brought up.
I actually have it all mapped out, so with times and everything. So
very good.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a joy. It's been an interesting conversation. I thank you for allowing me to get an explanation of the video and such. Um, if you don't get elected, can the citizens of Mount Pleasant still count on you to implement some of these ideas?
Absolutely. I've been doing that all my life, and I've actually been doing it since I've been here. So the people who know me know that that's true. And the people who are meeting me now, I think, also have a sense that that's true. That this is an historic election because no woman has ever run for mayor before. And I have heard folks say that I think I should be elected only because I'm a woman, but that is so far from the truth. I'm very qualified to be mayor in this city, in the way that this government is run. I'm very qualified to be the mayor.
And I'm going to interject, just knowing you for this experience and then at the candidate forum, I don't think that would be the reason you would want to be elected.
It is definitely not. It is definitely not. And people have said to me, well, I want to vote for you because no woman's ever run. And I said, don't. And I have said to them, don't vote for me because of that. Vote for me because you think I would do the best job as mayor. And that, I truly believe that.
And I would hope that the people listening and watching would want to hear that from any candidate.
Yes, I would think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, now we're up to 42 minutes and 50 seconds of podcast excellence. Kasey Conrad, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you so much.
Once again, that was Mount Pleasant, Iowa mayoral candidate Kasey Conrad. What are your thoughts after watching this podcast episode? Make sure to mention them in the comments below, and also give this episode a like, follow, and subscribe. It's free, and I appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and thank you to my sponsors, Griner Auto Body, Car Doctor, McDonald Boneyard, Your Choice Family Restaurant, Girling Repair, B&B Propane, and the family of Jet Stops, CW Tree Trimming, LLC, Dutch Market, Coffee Talk, and Iowa Technology Systems. I'm your host, John Bain. Stay friendly, Southeast Iowa.